love it.
Just a reminder to turn your cell phones to vibrate, off, or mute. And we'll start with an opening statement from Coach.
I think when you lose hair here, you grow it in other places to try to counterbalance. Yeah, that's what I do too. Appreciate you guys being here, really do. Looks like the weather's turning for us for spring ball, which will be great. Obviously excited about getting on the field. I think we've had a really good winter training period, with our guys. We tested extremely well. I know you guys got a chance to meet with Coach Galt. I know that's always great access for you guys and valuable, but it was good for us too. We were able to kind of get an idea where we're at. We're obviously young. We got a lot of question marks, obviously, with some of the guys that we've lost. But I also think there's a lot of excitement as well. It's interesting, just like you guys, you're kind of going over returning starters. I'm kind of going over all my stats, so I have my answers ready for you guys and all that kind of stuff. But we also have some kind of interesting situations, too, where you got a guy like Micah Parsons, who wasn't really a starter last year but led us in tackles. So I think sometimes some of the stats can be a little probably not as clear, don't tell the story exactly the way it is. But we're excited. I don't think there's any doubt about it. A couple things just to be aware of. I think some of the stuff you guys probably are. Some things I'm probably going to visit with you guys Wednesday after practice, once I've cleared some things up as well. But I think most of you guys are aware that Mac Hippenhammer is playing baseball. That was, as you guys know, through the recruiting process, that was always part of the conversation with Mac. He split time last year, which we all know is hard to do. It's hard to just be a Penn State student alone and then to try to do Penn State and football and school at the same time. That's very challenging. So had a lot of discussions, and he's going to concentrate on baseball full-time this spring, and had a lot of conversations with Cooper, and is doing a really nice job. So I don't want you guys to come out to practice and wonder where he's at. That's what he's doing, is playing baseball. He's Bo Jackson for us. Some positional changes, which I think you guys are aware of, is C.J. Thorpe did an unbelievable job for us in terms of we had a need, some size, some veteran experience that we needed on the defensive line, so we were able to move him over. We really believe that C.J.'s got an unbelievable ceiling when it comes to being an elite offensive lineman. So we've moved him back over while he kind of allowed us to create some depth and gain some maturity. Good, thank you. And gain some maturity there, but we think for our team and for CJ, we think he's got a very, very bright future. Brings a physicality. We went back and watched cut-ups from early in the season, and we missed that on the offensive side of the ball, so excited about that. The other thing is Grayson Klein is a young man that we've moved to the tight end position to create a little bit more depth there. So he's moved over. Chris just walked out because, sometimes you guys ask me questions and I want to answer the question, but sometimes the timing isn't right. So we've been trying to get in touch with somebody because I want to be respectful of the family and their privacy. But something, again, that I didn't want you guys to come out to practice and question where somebody was. Without getting into specifics and details of this, and I'd ask you please to respect the privacy of the family, but Juice Scruggs got in a car accident and will be out for spring ball. Will be out of spring ball, so I didn't want you guys wondering where he was at. But again, I don't want to answer this question in the press conference, and if you guys ask me and I haven't talked to Juice's mom, and I haven't talked to Juice and make sure that they're comfortable with me releasing that personal information publicly. But I also knew I was going to probably get asked a question, and you guys were going to be wondering. So sometimes when I'm trying to kind of balance out of that respect for the kid and the family, but also give you guys what you're looking for as well. So that's why Chris just walked out. We were able to get in touch with him and his family and clear some of that up. So I wanted to cover some of those things. Kind of our objectives for the spring. I think confidence and chemistry is a huge deal for us. We're going to work very hard at that this spring. Offensive ball security, defensive ball disruption. I think we played really good defensive football around here the last couple of years. I think one of the things that could really help us is if we could do a better job of creating turnovers. That is a huge stat for us, and we're going to really put an emphasis on that. The good thing about that is we weren't as good this past year offensively in protecting the football, and we've done a really good job of that over my history of being a head coach. So I actually think the emphasis on defense will actually help us on offense as well by those guys going against each other and challenging with strips and things like that. We'll do more of that in practice. Always want to teach situational football. I'm a huge believer in that. 2-minute, 4-minute, backed up, red zone, coming out, all the different special team situations. Continue to teach our guys about the why, so it's not just memorizing plays and we're not just running plays. They understand on first down and second down and third down and fourth down what the objective is. How is third down different, in a 2-minute situation than it is in normal situations? Well, because third down really becomes second down in a 2-minute situation to win the game, because you're going to go for it on fourth down. Those types of things. So making sure our guys understand the big picture. Spend a lot of time talking about situational football. We've gone through as a staff and said, here are all the things that we want to talk about. These are all football things that we want to talk about. Here's things outside of football. Drugs, alcohol, healthy relationships, all these different things. There never should be a time that we break our meeting early because we've gotten the install done. So at the end of that meeting, we got a list of topics that we should be covering with our guys outside of football or football-specific situations, big picture. So we get done the install for that day. You got an extra 10 minutes. Hey, let's make sure throughout the year we've covered all these different topics that we have a responsibility to educate our players on. Obviously, we got to find a two deep that we can win with at D-tackle that we feel really good about. Obviously we had some early departures, some that we knew about and some that we weren't completely sure how it was going to play out. When we say a two deep at D-tackle, the way we typically look at that is 5 guys. We feel like you really need to feel like you got 5 guys that you can play with at that position. Maybe that 4th and 5th guy are guys that you feel like, come the 4th game of the year, they need to be really ready to play and continue to develop. But that needs to happen at D-tackle. Safety, same thing. We got to answer some questions at a two deep at the safety position, and I'd say the same thing at wide receiver. We got to speed up the maturation process with a lot of these guys at those positions. We got to continue to develop them all. There's no doubt about it. But I would say those are the areas of emphasis for us as a program, as coaches and as players, that we need to figure those things out sooner rather than later. A couple other things that I cover with you. Again, we kind of talked about returning starters. We have 5 offensive returning starters the way Chris calculates it. But again, in our eyes, we look at Jahan Dotson as a returning starter. We look at Mac Hippenhammer as a returning starter. We look at Mike Miranda as a returning starter, Cam Sullivan-Brown. Those guys play a lot of football for us. Same thing on defense. We've got 6 returning starters. You guys know who they are. I won't go through those. That's not hard to figure out. But then we have 5 other guys that we would consider starters that don't necessarily meet the data requirements that Chris comes up with. Tariq Castro Fields, I think it's hard to not consider him a starter. Fred Hansard, Micah Parsons, again, led us in tackles. Antonio Shelton, I think we would all view as a starter in a lot of ways, and Jonathan Sutherland. Those guys have played a lot of football for us. So, feel really good about that. Just a couple other things I want to hit with you, and then I'll be quiet and take some questions. We have our women's clinic, which is really exploded. We haven't even advertised the clinic. We just put it up on our website, and it's up over 350 people have already pre-registered for. That's turned into one of our bigger events of the year, and really a cool event that we take a lot of pride in. We've had a lot of fun with that, but that thing is really blowing up. And then just a couple things that I would say about perspective and the narrative out there. We're tied for 9th in the country in terms of FBS winning percentage over the last 3 years. We're very proud of that. Very proud of that. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of areas that we can improve, but I think that's something we're really proud of. And then another stat, if you look at the college football rankings, which I think is really kind of shifted over the last couple of years, probably being the most important form of rankings that everybody's focused on now, the way college football has changed. There's 6 teams that in the last 3 years have finished in the top 15 of the college football playoffs, and that is Penn State, that is Alabama, that's Clemson, that's Ohio State, that's Washington, and that's Oklahoma. That's a pretty good group to be associated with over a 3-year period of time. So we're very proud of that. So got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of work to do in a lot of different areas. But once again, I want to thank you guys for being here and coming out and covering Penn State football. Happy to open it up to questions.
Raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you.